Hello everyone, Zazubar here, and I'm once again breaking hiatus to do another review. This one continuing in a series of reviews I've been doing for the past year or so. Last year, around this same time, I think it was a little bit more in the January, I reviewed the first volume of Peter David's run on the Incredible Hulk, the Marvel Visionaries trade. And then in about, I think it was early June, I picked up and reviewed Volume 2 of Peter David's run on the Hulk. And now, this Christmas, I got Volume 3 of Peter David's run on the Hulk, read it, and figured maybe it'd just be better off to review each volume as I read it, just to keep up the series, and just to keep, just kind of keep my feelings on this series, just my feelings and my thoughts on it going, because it's one of the most engrossing runs on comics I've ever read. Like, every time I finish one of these trades, I just want to go and pick up the next one because it's just so engrossing. Constantly new elements being brought in that want to have you keep reading. And Peter David just continues to turn the Hulk into such a really interesting character. The thing is that when Peter David started his run, there was no Green Hulk, and the Green Hulk is the Hulk that everybody knows. He is the public image of the Hulk, the popular image of the Hulk, the Hulk smash, Hulk crush popular image of the Hulk. He is not in Peter David's run much, at least for now. I know he comes back in later, but for now, in the early days, he was not in the book. It was all the Gray Hulk, Joe Fixit, as he's called in this particular volume. And Peter David did that to, well, he did it as kind of a cool callback plot device, because the very first issue of the Incredible Hulk, all the way back in 1962, featured the Hulk being gray, because that's the color Stan Lee wanted to make him. And Peter David wanted to go, and after that they made him green because there was a problem with the printing, and they just wanted to, he decided to change the color to green just for the consistency of the color in the books. So from that point on up till whenever Peter David started his run, the Hulk was green. Then there was this whole thing where him and Bruce Banner got separated from each other via a nutrient bath. Comics are weird. And then there was this whole story about the Leader coming back, the Leader being the Hulk's arch nemesis, basically his Joker, and threatening to activate a gamma bomb in a small town, and that's where that's the bulk of what Volume 2 is about. The Hulk and Bruce Banner going around stopping the Leader's gamma bomb plans, and it all climaxes in this small town where the Leader is threatening to detonate a gamma bomb and infect an entire town, which he does. And the Hulk has to stop it. He fails, and there's this whole big incident. It's very, very well written. And then what happens is somehow we pick up quite a bit later with no interconnecting plot. Just we suddenly pick up, and the Gray Hulk is alive and working in Las Vegas as a leg breaker. A leg breaker is basically a bodyguard, an enforcer for this casino guy named Mike Berengetti. And that's where the Gray Hulk is now under the name Joe Fixit, and apparently he has gotten rid of Bruce Banner. Now, he's no longer transforming, and during the daytime he's still the Gray Hulk, which, by the way, is one thing I forgot to mention, that after Banner got separated from the Green Hulk's energy went into Rick Jones, Rick Jones being the Hulk's best friend. And Rick Jones was running around as the Hulk, and in order to stop him, Bruce thought that the only way he could stop him was to become a Hulk again. And he used an old gamma ray machine to inundate his body with the gamma rays, and he turned into the Gray Hulk. And the Gray Hulk was the original meaner than the Green Hulk even, because he's not so much based on anger, he's more just malicious and mean. And the Gray Hulk started running around now, and Bruce was not transforming him based on anger, as he was. Now he's turning into the Gray Hulk because of night. Whenever nighttime comes, he turns into the Gray Hulk, which is the way it was in the original comics. The Hulk started off weird. It wasn't until it wasn't even until his book got canceled for a while that he actually started transforming with anger. It was when he started teaming up with other comic book characters that Marvel said, we need to give him a better reason to transform into the Hulk than just getting hit by gamma rays or night. So let's just have it be anger. So that's when that started, and that's, of course, the popular idea of the Hulk now. And what Peter David does in Volume 3 is really interesting, because what I assumed reading the end of Volume 2, where the Grey Hulk was Joe Fixit, you know, and working in a casino, was that he got rid of Bruce Banner by the gamma rays that he got hit with when the bomb went off. Like, it somehow messed up his mind and killed Bruce Banner and made the Hulk stronger. And that's what I assumed, but early on we see that's not the case, because the Grey Hulk during the daytime, when he's still the Hulk and he's sitting in his penthouse, because he takes the days off because he feels very weak by the daylight, because he's a nighttime creature. So he even though he's still the Hulk and he can still, you know, destroy things, you know, during the daytime, he feels weakened. So he's sitting in his penthouse, and he's like he's thinking about how, like, and complaining about this buzz. Like, he doesn't feel Bruce Banner anymore, but he still feels like he has to keep him. And he's always panicking that one day this streak is going to end and Bruce Banner is going to come back and ruin his life. Which it's brought up later on when that actually happens, that that Bruce, you know, that Bruce, it's kind of like a switched idea of the Hulk, where usually it's the Hulk ruining Bruce's life. Now it's Bruce ruining the Hulk's life, because the Hulk has formed this job and this persona, and if Bruce comes back along and the Hulk transforms back into him, then Bruce could come along and ruin that for the Hulk and try to go back and get rid of the Hulk again. And it's really all really interesting, very well written. And that was really my favorite part about this particular trade. I'm not going to say this is my favorite trade of the three. That's possible, but I'm not going to say that because I haven't. When I get the entire run by Peter David in trade, and I go back and reread all of them, then I'll be able to say which one's my favorite. But this one was just as good as the other two, because the ideas in this were so interesting, and the Hulk was so well written that I was just I had a newfound love for Peter David's run of the Hulk. Like, I always thought it was great. This book really, like, cemented it. Maybe it's just because I haven't been reading for so long. Like, I haven't read any Peter David Hulk since June, which, you know, that's quite a gap. And with this trade, I just kind of like I found a newfound love for it. So, yeah. The difference with this particular trade that separates it from the other two, and not by much, but still a little bit, is the crossovers, because both other trades have crossovers with other Marvel books in them, but it's done a little differently there. Like, I think there's mainly two, and they're both X-Men related. There's what is it, X-Force? I don't know. There's so many, like, at that point in time, and even up to now, there's so many goddamn names for X-Men teams. I'm not really an X-Men fan, so I don't know any of the differentiations from the actual team, the X-Men, like this, like, X-Force and Uncanny X-Force and X-Men and New X-Men, and it's crazy. I can't keep up with it. And in the first trade, he fights the Grey Hulk fights Uncanny X. I think it's X-Force. I have no idea. And even in that book, they have two different names. It's the Exterminators and X-Force, and it's fucking weird. And in the second trade, it was Wolverine, and I think that was it. I'm trying to remember if there was anything. Yeah, it was just Wolverine. And his X-Men team, but he mainly just fought Wolverine. So, yeah, the Hulk has always been a very prime target for crossing over with other Marvel characters, and Peter David's run was no different, and in fact had it a little bit more than the Hulk had been doing. And Volume 3, though, was where we get a lot more. Again, there's only mainly two, but they're both different because they both cross over in other books. And this is where... No, there's actually three, but one of them we don't actually see, which is weird. I'll get into that in a minute. So there's three main crossovers. The first one is the first issue of the book, which is Spider-Man. The first issue actually primarily focuses on Spider-Man. There's very little Hulk in it. And it takes place in Vegas still, with Spider-Man as Peter Parker promoting a book he's written or done about his work photographing Spider-Man, which is interesting. And Spider-Man has to deal with this weird, like, cyborg mercenary team in Vegas who are having this weird war game where, like, they have to decide who's the best of their mercenary group, and they fight each other in Vegas, so there's gunfire and explosions, and the Hulk gets involved, and him and Spider-Man end up teaming up after fighting for a bit. So, yeah, it's all very, very complicated and weird, and what ends up happening is it crosses, as I said, it starts out in, I think it's the Amazing Spider-Man book, I'm not sure, I'm going to check quick. Web of Spider-Man, excuse me. It starts in Web of Spider-Man. And then it goes into The Incredible Hulk. Now, they're both written by Peter David. So, they're both, I think so. Yeah, it's written by Peter David. So, Web of Spider-Man's written by Peter David, and so is the Hulk. So, it makes sense that they would feel close together and not like a big jump. Well, there is a jump. The art style, and this is my biggest complaint with this frickin' trade. As I said in the last two reviews, Peter David was mainly, his art was mainly being done by Todd McFarlane, who's a great popular artist in comics. And it was wonderful, beautiful art. This trade has none of Todd McFarlane. Now, my theory is that this book, I could be wrong about this, but I think that this was the point where Todd McFarlane quit Marvel and started Image Comics. I'm not sure. It could just be that he stopped doing the Hulk and went on to do other things. I'm not entirely sure. In fact, I think I might be wrong, because this was probably still in the 80s, so it was either that or he either was doing Spider-Man at the time, because his other big break in art was doing Spider-Man in the 90s with Venom and everything, so he could have just started doing Spider-Man and just got off the Hulk, but I'm not sure. But, so yeah. That's my biggest problem with this book, is the jump in art, because the art in Spider-Man and the art in when he crosses over in Fantastic Four is great. It's actually very consistent with what McFarlane was doing, this highly, not cartoony, but great comic book art. With big muscles and detail and just really great comic book art. Then we jump into the Hulk, and in the Hulk solo book, and the art takes a complete 180. And it becomes this very, very, like, almost Frank Miller-ish, like, blocky, just not art that I like. It's blocky, it's pixelated. The Hulk looks like a freaking, like, ogre. It's just I don't like the art in the Hulk's main title. And it's also very jarring because, as I said, there's crossovers with other books. So, and this is an interesting experiment you can do if you pick up this book. Jump from the end of Web of Spider-Man, turn the page and jump into the first page of The Incredible Hulk. It's like a whoa, what happened? Because it's the same panel but done by different artists, and it just looks totally different. It just does not work. And it's very, very jarring. And then it happens again with the Fantastic Four, because the Fantastic Four, great comic book art. Then you jump into the Incredible Hulk, and again it's like this blocky Frank Miller art, and it just does not work. I'm sorry if you guys like that art style, but it's just not for me. And I mean, you get used to it for sure, but early on it's a little bit of a, you gotta get used to it. So that's probably my biggest complaint with this book, is the jump in art. And the last crossover is with the Avengers, which we don't actually see. Here's what happens. After the Hulk fights the Thing again and beats him, which is one of my favorite moments in the whole book, when the Hulk beats because the Thing apparently got mutated by, I had Fantastic Four at this time was weird again, and who knows. So the Thing got mutated somehow, and it's like this ultra super thing. And the Hulk goes out to fight him because he's worried that the thing in his newfound strength has kind of been stealing his thunder. Everyone thinks the Hulk's dead too, which is funny. So the Hulk fights the thing, and he doesn't want the thing to know he's the Hulk. So he's gray and he doesn't talk, and he just kind of beats the crap out of the thing. And the thing beats him at first, and then the Hulk's like, "Okay, wait a minute. I'm smart now. I can think. I can reason. I'm going to beat him not with my muscles, but with my brain, and that'll be better." So the Hulk beats him with his brain rather than his muscles. I mean, his muscles help, but he beats him with his brain rather than his muscles, and it's really, really cool. But then after the thing is defeated, the Beast from the X-Men comes along and says, and apparently he was on the Avengers at this point, and he says that the Avengers need the Hulk's help. And the Hulk's like, why would I help the Avengers? And he goes into this thing and he's like, I'll tell people that you're still alive and they'll hunt you if you don't come and help. And he's like, alright, fine, I'll go help. And then that's it. The book ends and we jump right back into the Incredible Hulk book, and it's a whole different thing. He's back in Vegas and he's tired, and he goes back to his penthouse and he's sleepy, and then we have a flashback to him being on Jarella's world, which is like this from an earlier point in Hulk comics. I have an issue of the run that this is in, where Banner was in the Hulk's body, and he was fighting alongside this alien race, and not really alien, interdimensional race, and liberating them and leading them. He became their god. It's kind of like an early like blueprint for Greg Pak's Planet Hulk book, which I'm a big fan of. And so the Hulk goes there, and everyone's confused because he's gray. So since the religion of that planet is based on the Hulk, they call him the Anti-Hulk, and like he's the Antichrist, and only a certain faction of people look to him as the real Hulk and as a god. And this happens right after the Gamma Blast. So this is a flashback. And we learn how the Hulk got rid of Bruce Banner for so long, because he got an enchantment from these people that he helped in Jarella's world to get rid of Bruce Banner. But these people are trying to trick him, because all they want the Hulk to do is go in and beat the crap out of this guy who rules the planet, and he's called the Inquisitor. And this guy says that he's the only one who can hear the Hulk's voice. So he's speaking religiously, of course. He's not speaking literally. And like he's the only one who can speak the Hulk's law. And so this one guy has the Hulk beat the crap out of the Inquisitor, which now puts this guy in charge. So now he can be the new Inquisitor. It's all complicated. It's very well done. It's a great issue. I think it's 2 issues. So it's a great 2 issues. And but then the Hulk is like, hey, why go back to Earth and risk having Banner come back? I'll just stay here and keep having you guys enchant me and rule over this world, since he's the new malicious Grey Hulk. And he's like, yeah, no, I tricked you. You're going back. And he sends him back, but with the enchantment. So for a while, Bruce Banner's not in the book anymore. Now, my complaint is that it took me a while to figure that out, because the book opens right after the Avengers thing, and I thought that we were jumping in with the. It was confusing. I thought at first I thought we were jumping in right after the Avengers thing, which is what we're doing. But then I thought, wait a minute, he's talking about the leader. Maybe and also the Hulk is like sitting in the ground and there's smoke coming off him. I'm like, is this right after the Gamma Blast? What the hell? So I was very, very confused and lost. And again, there's an art jump, and I was just really confused. And it took me a few minutes to realize that, okay, so this is the present day, but we're flashing back now. It was confusing. And the way I'm talking about it probably makes it sound even more confusing, so I apologize for that. So, yeah, my other biggest complaint. Okay, aside from the art, my second biggest complaint with this book is that that Avengers issue isn't in there. It's in an Avengers book. Why the hell isn't it in there? Is it because My only theory is that Peter David didn't write that story. But even if it's not, it's part of this story. So put it in the goddamn trade if you want us to, you know, unless you want your audience to go back and read, like, back issues to understand what's going on in this trade. I mean, that's why we had trades, so you don't have to go back and read back issues. So it's like, it's crazy. And I was infuriated because I was like, oh my god, just let me read this story without having to go back and dig through buckets of back issues to find, you know, this Avengers issue where the Hulk shows up for a little bit. It's crazy. And this trade, more than the other two, and the other two had this a little bit, was constantly having editor's notes telling me to go back and read stuff to understand what was going on. Thankfully, I was familiar. Thankfully, I was like familiar enough with the Marvel Universe to kind of assume things and fill in the blanks where either I haven't read or I've read encyclopedias about, or I've read stories a long time ago. I was like, okay, I remember that, and I remember how that goes. So, that was helpful. But not having this Avenger issue, I was like, I feel kind of gypped, because it's like, this is part of the story, but, you know, it's not in here. I only guess that issue wasn't written by Peter David, and since this book is collecting Peter David's run on the Hulk, it wouldn't make much sense premise-wise, but for story's sake, put it in, really. So I was very, very, infuriated about that. So yeah. My favorite part about this particular trade is the way Peter David writes the Grey Hulk, because he continues to develop him and develop the premise around him, and it's really, really well done. Here's the thing. Back with Volume 1, and then even still with Volume 2, the Grey Hulk is not a likable character. He's he's malicious, he's a jerk, he only cares about himself, and he doesn't care about other people, and he treats his friends like crap. Like the Green Hulk, despite being angry, at his core was still a good creature. I mean, he still had like morals. This Hulk does not really have morals. He's kind of he's just a mean, selfish individual. And my favorite part about this book is that he finds something that he finally cares about. Something that's bigger than him. And even still, it's not quite the greatest thing ever. It's a gambling ring with Mike Berengetti and casinos and the mob. Mike Berengetti himself is not part of the mob, but he has dealings with it. He has dealings under the table, and the Hulk is part of enforcing that. So it's really well done that the Hulk finally has something to lose, and that's when Bruce Banner comes back, and I really, really like that. Because that was always the point of the Green Hulk, and even a little bit with the Grey Hulk in the early issues of Peter David's run, with the Hulk ruining Bruce Banner's life and coming in at the worst possible times. And now that's happening reverse-wise. And it's a really cool shift, because now you're more sympathetic towards the Hulk, because Bruce Banner's coming on, acting a little malicious, being a little selfish, like, okay, this looks good for the Hulk, I'm gonna ruin it. So it's really, really well done, and it makes the Grey Hulk out to be more of a character than he was in the previous two trades. I'm not saying that to criticize the other two trades. I just like this development a lot. And this is also where I come into, this is not a critique of the book, or really of any story, just not even a critique. This is just the thing I'm having nowadays. I've always read the Hulk for the Hulk. Let me just say that right now. Jason Aaron's run that was going on last year and ended this year, I was reading for the Hulk. Bruce Banner was the villain in that book. Well, until the end. It got a little confusing at the end. I was reading that for the Hulk. I don't read the Hulk for Bruce Banner. And I know some of you are out there going, yeah, but the Hulk's just a mindless monster. So how can you read a book just for a mindless monster? Well, oh my god, Zilla fan, first of all. So, well, he's not mindless, but, you know. I read the Hulk for the Hulk because the Hulk is an interesting character. Bruce Banner is interesting, but not as a protagonist, at least in my opinion. You can do Bruce Banner as an interesting protagonist, but you can't do it true to the comics, because in the comics, Bruce Banner is a whiny asshole. for the most part. There are different ways you can write Bruce Banner and different moods Bruce Banner has. And Bruce Banner has multiple personality disorders, so it makes sense that he would have different moments of different motivations and such. But even though Bruce Banner is sympathetic in that he can be considered among the leagues of a superhero, like, he cares about other people for the most part. He tries to do the right thing, but he goes about it in this very whiny, fuck the world, kind of way. And he treats his wife like crap, and he didn't have a nice childhood, but it's like, at that point you're making excuses for the guy. And at that point, it makes sense for him to become the villain. And I like that Jason Aaron finally did that, because I don't know if there are any other Hulk fans out there who will agree with me on this, but I'm kind of getting sick of Bruce Banner. The Hulk has gotten to the point where he does not need Bruce Banner as a rock. Jason Aaron and even Peter David all the way back in the 80s proved that you do not need Bruce Banner to tell a really good Hulk story. Even Greg Pak's Planet Hulk proved that. Bruce Banner is barely in that. He's almost like a hindrance at points, because it's like, and I know that's the point, like the Hulk was always a hindrance to Bruce, now Bruce is a hindrance to the Hulk. Yeah, that's really cool and really interesting. But it's almost gotten to the point where, like, let's stop even playing with that cool idea and just let's get rid of Bruce Banner. Like, in Jason Aaron's run, when I thought Bruce Banner was dead, I actually cheered. I was like, yes, finally, we're just gonna have Hulk. And then he came back, and it was still really, really solid. But it's just like it's getting to the point where I don't think you need Bruce Banner to tell Hulk stories anymore. I think you can bring him back and do other things with him, but just get rid of him connected to the Hulk. Let the Hulk be his own entity, because he's more interesting that way, at least in my opinion. And Peter David proved that back in the 80s. Greg Pak proved that back in, I think it was 05 he wrote that. And Jason Aaron proved that with his last run. And now I think Mark Waid is doing Indestructible Hulk. Now with Indestructible Hulk, Bruce Banner is the protagonist again, and it's still really good. Like it's nearly like the same level of good as Aaron was doing, but it's not as interesting. It's got an interesting premise with the Hulk being working for S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's all interesting. That's all really well done. But the Hulk is kind of a mindless, anger-induced monster again. It's like, we just had this huge arc where he was like this intelligent, tortured soul, and now he's this monster again, and it's like, And I know that sounds weird since I'm a monster movie fan, and that's why I read the Hulk, but it's like, I want the Hulk to be a character, it's like, the Hulk can be a very frustrating thing to read, because, not many writers care about his continuity very often. Very often, this is a weird thing to say. And I'm sorry this is turning into a tangent, but forget it. I haven't done a video in a while, and I have to get these views out there. So maybe I'll even call this, like, Hulk Podcast or something, I don't know. One thing I've been noticing with the Hulk is that his continuity almost seems to be defined by other characters in the universe and how that affects them. And I'm not saying a Hulk supporting cast like Betty Ross, General Ross, Rick Jones, Leonard Sampson. No, I'm talking like Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Avengers, Fantastic Four. That, at points, seems to be the definitive rock in the Hulk's continuity, not the Hulk's continuity, which is very frustrating for Hulk fans who are reading the continuity and want to see it carried over. Now, writers have tried to make excuses for why that is, with Bruce Banner having multiple personality disorder and the mental problems producing different Hulks out there. Like, at one point it's frustrating to read. And, like, the only solid Hulk incidents almost seem to be times where he either fights other Avengers, other superheroes, other characters, and not, just Hulk stories. Like, the solid rocks in his continuity seem to be like, oh, that time when he fought the Thing, or oh, that time where he teamed up with the Avengers, oh, that time he punched Iron Man in the face, oh, that time he had a drink with Black Widow. That never happened, but, other incidents with other Marvel characters, he can't be, like, his own continuity can't speak for itself, and that's frustrating. Well, now that tangent is over, let's get back into Peter David's run of the Hulk Volume 3. I don't have a lot more to say, other than great development for the Hulk. The art you get used to the art. I mean, it's still good art, but it's just not my thing. I was more liking what was going on in the Web of Spider-Man book, the Fantastic Four book, and the new art that's not Todd McFarlane in the Incredible Hulk was I just don't like the blocky, undetailed art style, which is done by Jeff Purves. Whatever. I'm really immature. No, I just, that's just not my thing. So that being said, I don't have much more to say about the Volume 3 of Peter David's Run of the Hulk outside of that. I really, really liked it. I read it in one sitting, which was, it was worth it, because I loved the crap out of it. I highly recommend all of Peter David's trades on the Hulk. Obviously, don't jump in the middle of one because you're going to get confused. Start out with Volume 1. If you've been keeping up with the series, I would say Volume 3 is more than worth picking up. The story continues to be interesting. It continues to be one of the greatest runs in comics ever. And just continues to be fascinating and well done. Go pick it up. It's great stuff. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Highly recommend it. Just go pick it up. And even if you're just looking to get into the Hulk, Peter David's run is a great place to start, since it takes back, at least in Volume 1, it takes Hulk back to his origins, and just go pick it up. So, those are my thoughts on Peter David's Hulk Volume 3. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all soon. Zazubar out.